Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition show where I go through the 2026 NCAA tournament bracket, and then we'll pick through the whole bracket, and then round by round, crown a national champion, and go over futures as well. All right. So first we're going to do the bracket. And then we'll do the picks. We'll begin with the first four when we do the picks. All right, so we're gonna go around the whole bracket first, as I mentioned at the top. Your number one overall seed in the East region is the Duke Blue Devils. Their opponent will be Siena of the Metro Atlantic. Your 8-9 in the East region, your 8's Ohio State, and your 9's TCU. And then your 5 in this bracket is St. John's, then they'll be playing against Northern Iowa. Your 4-13 is Kansas and Cal Baptist. Your 6 is Louisville. The 11 is South Florida, 3 Michigan State, 14 North Dakota State, 7 UCLA, 10 UCF, 2 UConn, and 15 Furman. And then the number 2 overall seed in the West region is the Arizona Wildcats, and their opponent will be LIU. The 8-9 in this region, 8 Villanova, 9 Utah State. Your 5 is Wisconsin, your 12 is High Point. 4 Arkansas, 13 Hawaii. Your 6 is BYU, and they'll be playing the winner again of NC State, Texas in the first 4, which will be tonight. And then your 3 is Georgia. Your 14 is Kennesaw State. Your 7 is Miami, Florida. Your 10 is Missouri. Your 2 is Purdue, and your 15 is Queens, North Carolina. And then on the same side of the bracket, but your number 3 overall seed and your 1 seed in the Midwest, the Michigan Wolverines, and they'll take on the winner of Howard and UMBC, which will be the first game tonight. Your 8-9 in this region, your 8 is Georgia, and your 9 is St. Louis. Your 5 is Texas Tech, your 12 is Akron, 4 Alabama, 13 Hofstra, 6 Tennessee, and they'll take on the winner of SMU Miami of Ohio, which will be played tomorrow night. Your 3 seed is Virginia. Your 14 seed is Wright State. 7 is Kentucky. 10 Santa Clara. 2 is Iowa State. And 15 is Tennessee State. And into the South region, your number 4 overall seed and your 1 seed in the South region, in my opinion, undeserving of a 1 seed because of too many losses, and that's the Florida Gators. I think UConn should have been the one in this region. You could even argue Houston, had they won the Big 12 tournament. You had even somebody like Gonzaga, you could make an argument for here. But Florida, in my opinion, an undeserving 1 seed, although I do think there's a chance they go on a big run. That's why seeding is sometimes irrelevant. And they'll play the winner of Lehigh, Prairie View A&M, which will be played tomorrow night. Your 8-9 in this region, 8's Clemson and 9's Iowa. Your 5 is Vanderbilt. Your 12 is McNeese of the Southland. Your 4 is Nebraska. Your 13 is Troy of the Sun Belt. Your 6-11 is North Carolina and VCU. So VCU, it looks like that they got an auto bid. So there's not a lot of at-larges for like 11s, because sometimes they would go deep as the 12s, but this year it's not the case. Although their conference countermates, St. Louis, got an at-large, and they deserved it. St. Louis deserved an at-large. 3 Illinois, 14 Penn, 7 St. Mary's, 10 Texas A&M, 2 Houston, and 15 Idaho. So that's your bracket. And then it will all begin tonight. The Midwest region, 16 seeds, UMBC and Howard. My line is UMBC by 5, total 143 in the 10th. So I have UMBC advancing to take on Michigan on Thursday. And then the West region, you have 2 11 seeds. Texas against NC State. And oh, by the way, records. UMBC 24-8, Howard 23-10, Texas 18-14, NC State 20-13. So Texas, NC State, I have NC State 6 3/4, so 159 4/5. I think this is gonna be a high scoring game. I think Texas is in the dance because of the lack of fat large teams and whatnot. I think that they had to do some cherry picking with these last couple teams, and I'm not saying Texas didn't deserve it, but I think they're in there by default, and I think they would have been out of Dayton had they not lost to Ole Miss. So there's that. What if with Texas? So best guy on the court, I think, is going to be Dalian Swain of Texas. But NC State, I think, is battle tested, and they've won some big games before, and I know Texas has more talent, but I just don't trust them, and I have NC State as a favorite here. So I'm going to advance NC State, and they'll take on BYU on Thursday afternoon. Or Thursday night, I mean. And then Wednesday, and by the way, 640 True TV and 915 True TV for both set of games. So 640 True TV tomorrow night in the South Region, 16 seed Prairie View A&M of the SWAC and Lehigh of the Patriot League. My line's Lehigh 6.5, total 150 and 1320. This is probably the weakest of the first four games, although UMBC Howard's not a great game either. The best guy on the court in this game is going to be Nasir Whitlock of Lehigh. So I'm going to advance Lehigh, and is this going to be their first time in the dance since they upset Duke? I think it is. Because I feel like Lehigh has either underachieved in this league or has been like a top seed in the Patriot League tournament and lost. I think this is their first time in since they upset Duke, unless if they were in another year after that, which was possible, but I don't remember. And then obviously they'll take on Florida on Friday. And then, in my opinion, the most anticipated first four game of the four in the Midwest region, Miami of Ohio of the MAC and SMU of the ACC. My line is Miami of Ohio 5 3/4, total 162 and 1328. I know SMU's favored in this game, but Miami of Ohio, why not? They only lost one game all year, and I don't trust SMU. Miami of Ohio is a deep team, although SMU has the best two guys on the court in Boopy Miller and Jerome Pierre Jr. But I do think Miami of Ohio is going to win. Like, I go by my numbers, and I do some adjusting from when, like, you have situations like this that they would consider bye games. Like, say, for instance, Siena Duke would be a bye game in the regular season, but I don't make those adjustments for the NCAA tournament because we have a better sample size now than what we did then, and plus it's a neutral court. Although it's in Greenville, so you will have your Duke fans there, for example, but I don't account for things in the NCAA tournament like I do in the regular season for bye games. So I do think Miami of Ohio is live to beat SMU tomorrow night. All right, first round, Thursday afternoon is where all the fun will begin. At 12:15 on CBS. East Region, 9 seed TCU, 8 seed Ohio State. I have TCU by a half, total 151.5. I like both of these teams. I think both of these teams are very good. I think either team can win. This is a hard call. You can make a case for Bruce Thornton for best guy on the court for Ohio State. And you could argue TCU is the more balanced team. I'm actually going to pick TCU to knock off Ohio State here to advance to around the 32. All right, next game on the board for March Madness. 12:40 True TV in the South Region. 13 seed Troy, 4 seed Nebraska from Oklahoma City. By the way, TCU Ohio State's in Greenville. I have Nebraska 6.5 total 148 and 3/20. So I'm going to advance Nebraska. They are the better team. And they really are under some pressure here to go on a run. And then we got in the East Region, 1:30 TNT. You have 11 seed South Florida, 6 seed Louisville from Buffalo. My line's Louisville by 6 total 160 and 3/20. So I'm going to advance Louisville, who's the better team, led by Michael Brown. We'll make sure he plays. 150 TBS. West Region, 12 seed High Point, 5 seed Wisconsin. From Portland, my line is High Point, 1.25. This is going to be my first big upset of the tournament. High Point's only lost 4 times this year. Terry Anderson's a really good player. I know Wisconsin, but they're not that deep. They're relying heavily on Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. I mean, they're good players. But I do think that High Point can get it done. Yeah, High Point 1.25 total 158 and 3/5. So I'm going to pull the trigger and advance High Point. East Region, 250 CBS, 1 seed Duke, 16 seed Siena. From Greenville, my line is Duke, 19 3/4, so 140 and 4/5. So I'm going to advance Duke. 3:15 True TV. South Region, 12 seed McNeese, 5 seed Vanderbilt from Oklahoma City. My line's Vandy 2 and 3/4, so 152 and 7/10. So I'm going to advance Vanderbilt. And then 4:05 on TNT. East Region, 14 seed North Dakota State, 3 seed Michigan State. I have Sparty, 6.5 total 148 and 3/5. So I'm going to advance Sparty. I don't think this is going to be Middle Tennessee all over again. Although that Michigan State team was better than this Michigan State team, and that Middle Tennessee team was better than this North Dakota State team. And then you got West Region, 4:25 on TBS, 4 seed Arkansas, 13 seed Hawaii. From Portland, I have Arkansas 13, total 159.5. I think Acuff and company get it done and they advance. There's going to be no 14-3 or 13-4 there. South Region, 650 TNT, 11 seed VCU, 6 seed North Carolina. Carolina only by 2.5 to the 152 and the 10th. I know Caleb Wilson's out for Carolina. I'm going to see the actual betting line. Okay, that's exactly where I have it, 2.5. I think a lot of people are going to be picking VCU as an upset pick, and rightfully so. I mean, I was tempted to pick VCU here, but VCU is not the VCU of old. They're not deep. And they're only here because of their conference tournament. A better 11 seed would have beat North Carolina. Like BYU, I would have picked to beat North Carolina. BYU would probably be favored over North Carolina. But Henry Vassar is going to pick up the slack for Caleb Wilson as well. If Seth Trimble is healthy, I think he could pick up some of the Caleb Wilson slack as well. So I do think Carolina wins. But I will probably bet on VCU because I have that Carolina future from a while ago that I took before Caleb got hurt. And then 7-10 CBS, Midwest region, 16 seed UMBC, 1 seed Michigan from Buffalo. Mine's Michigan, 16.5, no total yet, obviously. Solid advance. Michigan. 7:25 TBS, West region, 11 seed NC State, 6 seed BYU. I have BYU only by a quarter because of the Richie Saunders injury. I know Debanza, and I meant to say NC State would have beaten North Carolina if that was them, or Texas. If it was one of those teams, I think they would have beaten North Carolina potentially. But I said BYU by accident. BYU would have absolutely beaten North Carolina. But I do think BYU is overseeded. Too many losses in conference play, and then they just had the big wins. And I think the star potential of AJ is why they're a 6 seed. But I have them losing. I think they're 1 and out. But if they play Texas, they'll win. If they play Texas, they'll win, I think. But if NC State's here, NC State wins. So I'm going to advance NC State. And the 11/6 upset. Oklahoma City, South Region, 7:35 True TV. 10 seed Texas A&M, 7 seed St. Mary's. I have St. Mary's by 8, total 155 and a 10th. I'm going to advance St. Mary's. St. Mary's, I think, is a better team than people give them credit for. They just lose to Santa Clara. I guess Santa Clara just has their number. Paulius Makaukis will lead the way for the Gales, and I don't trust the A&M team. 9:25 TNT, South Region, 14 seed Penn, 3 seed Illinois. I have Illinois 18.5 to 151 and a 10, so I'm going to advance Illinois. They're just a better team. 9:45 CBS, Midwest Region from Buffalo. 9 seed St. Louis, 8 seed Georgia. My line is St. Louis 5.5 to 163 and a 10th. Robbie Avila, I think, is the best guy on the court in this game. Georgia's favored, but I don't think they should be. I think Georgia's favored because they're Georgia and they're in the SEC. And the SEC's a good conference. And I know Georgia has a good scorer in Jeremiah Wilkinson, but I think that Avila is a matchup problem. I think St. Louis wins, and I feel pretty good about this 8-9. 10 o'clock TNT, West Region from Portland. 14 seed Kennesaw State, 3 seed Gonzaga. Gonzaga 17.5 total 155. I think Gonzaga is just better than Kennesaw State. And Kennesaw is a weak Conference USA team. If that was Liberty would have been a 12. And they would have been a popular upset pick as a 12 seed. But the thing with the tournament this year is that you have like the weaker mid-majors. That's why I don't think we're going to be seeing many upsets in the first round. I do have one predicted, the Big South winner, High Point, but I really don't think we're going to have a lot of them. And I do have Miami of Ohio winning their first game as well as an at-large, but I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of first-round upsets at all. And then the last game on Thursday, March 19th in the round of 64, 10-10 True TV, South Region from Oklahoma City, 15 seed Idaho, 2 seed Houston. I have Houston by 20, total 145 and 7/20th, so I'm going to advance Houston. They're just gonna cruise. Again, another weaker conference championship from a one-bid league. All right, Friday first round games, 12:15 on CBS. Midwest Region from St. Louis, 10 seed Santa Clara, 17 Kentucky. I have Pick'em and 155 and a 5th. This is gonna be one of the hardest calls I'm gonna have to make especially for a 10-7. Usually the 10-7s are easier to predict than this. I think Santa Clara has shown a lot, and I don't love what I've seen from Kentucky. I think Kentucky, I'm just not a fan of their coach, Mark Pope. Like I said, Santa Clara is a deep team. They beat St. Mary's several times and been competitive with Gonzaga. Christian Hammond is a really good player on this team. He's only going to get better. Although the best guy on the court in this game is going to be Atega away, but Santa Clara is a feisty defensive team. I'm going to pick them in the 10-7 upset. So I'm going to go with Santa Clara to upset Kentucky. 1240 True TV from Tampa, Midwest region. 5-seed Texas Tech, 12-seed Akron. I have Texas Tech by 3, total 157 in the fifth. That accounts for the injury to Jacob Toppin. Akron's going to be a popular 12-5 pick because of the loss of Toppin. But if Akron was playing a weaker team, I think they would have had... I still do think they have a real shot here. But I do think that other guys on Texas Tech, notably Christian Anderson, will step up here. So I'm going to advance Texas Tech. 135 on TNT. West region from San Diego. 16-seed LIU, 1-seed Arizona. I have Arizona by 18, total 150 in the 20th. So I'm going to advance Arizona. They're just going to run away, I think. 150 TBS. Midwest region from Philly. 14-seed Wright State, 3-seed Virginia. I have Virginia by 26, total 152. And the fifth, Virginia's going to win. They're really good. Wright State, from the Horizon League, obviously, I think Virginia's going to wipe the floor. 250 CBS from St. Louis, Midwest region. 15-seed Tennessee State, 2-seed Iowa State. I have Iowa State 13 1/4, total 149 and 9/20. Iowa State's just better from top to bottom. And Tennessee, I think Tennessee State's one of the weaker teams in the field. And that's another conference that's best team to make the tournament. And here's another one in the Colonial, which we're going to get to in a second here. 315 True TV, Midwest region from Tampa. 13-seed Hofstra, 4-seed Alabama. If Bama 16 3/4, so 158 and 13/20. Alabama's just better than Hofstra. Listen, if UNC Wilmington won that conference tournament, they would have been an upset pick by some people. Alabama's just better than Hofstra from top to bottom. Nate Oates knows how to win these kind of games, so I'm going to advance Alabama. 410 on TNT. West region from San Diego. 9-seed Utah State. 8-seed Villanova. I have Utah State 4 3/4, total 150 and the quarter. I do think that Utah State deserved an at-large, but I do think they're overseeded. And I thought they should have been like a 10 or a 11. But the Mountain West stunk this year, and that was a one-bid league. They probably still would have made it had like somebody, there been a bid stealer in that league. But if there was a bid stealer in that league, then Texas wouldn't have made it. And then, who knows, maybe Miami of Ohio maybe wouldn't have made it. But they rely on MJ Collins and Mason Falslev, Utah State. And I know Villanova is finally back in the mix. Not in a big way, but like in the tournament for the first time in a while. They're deep, but Utah State's got the best two guys on the court. So I'm going to advance Utah State, and I feel pretty good about that one. 425 TBS, Midwest region from Philly. 11-seed Miami of Ohio, 6-seed Tennessee. I have Miami of Ohio by 2. Yeah. I think that team is going to have a chip on its shoulder. The big FU. I know they haven't beat anybody. But who's coaching on the other side? Rick Barnes. He has a poor tournament history, and they tend to lose these games sometimes. Tennessee should win. Obviously, there's a reason why they're the 6th seed here, and Miami of Ohio is 11. I know Gillespie and Ament are going to carry the way for Tennessee in maybe even in defeat here. But like I said, I think Miami of Ohio has something special brewing, and I think that could be like a Wichita State kind of team. And the funny thing is, when Wichita State went undefeated the year, they were a 1 seed. A 1 seed. Not the number 1 overall seed, but a 1 seed. They were like the number 3 overall seed. Had Miami of Ohio won its conference tournament, they wouldn't have been in Dayton, obviously. They would have been probably a 10. But like I said, I do think that this team is poised for a run. Suter and Byers lead the way for Miami of Ohio. They're deeper than Tennessee. Like from a depth standpoint, obviously. I mean, but I think this is an upset waiting to happen. All right. 650 TNT, South Region from Tampa. 9 seed Iowa, 8 seed Clemson. I have Clemson by 3.5, total 141. I think Clemson's better. They are battle tested. Their coach is a coach that feels like he's a hot seat guy waiting to happen every year, but he really is shredding the narrative, and I think he's gonna shred it even more. So I think Clemson gets it done, led by Godfrey and Welling. Although Iowa, you could make a case, has the best guy on the court. It actually does have the best guy on the court in Sturts, but they don't have much help outside of Sturts. So I'm going to advance Clemson. All right. 7:15 or 7:10 CBS East Region from San Diego. Northern Iowa, St. John's. I have St. John's 19.5, total 141 and 2/5. This is not an upset. Northern Iowa is a 12 seed because the field of autos from mid majors and lower majors is weak. St. John's is way better than Northern Iowa. Like in theory, this should be a 14-3 or a 15-2. They're gonna wipe the floor. St. John's. All right. 7:25 TBS from Philly, East Region. 10 seed UCF, 7 seed UCLA. UCLA 13.5, total 154 and a 10th. UCLA is under some pressure here to go on a run. I think they're a better team than UCF. And you could argue UCF is kind of lucky to be a 10 seed. So I'm going to advance UCLA. 7:35 True TV, 2 seed Purdue, 15 seed Queens, West Region from St. Louis. I have Purdue 18, total 159, 9/10. No, this is not. Who the hell beat them? From Fairleigh Dickinson. This is not Fairleigh Dickinson, and this is not St. Peter's. Those two teams. I know you could make a case this Queens team's a little better than those teams. But this Purdue team has learned its lessons. They're a hot team right now. They're going to wipe the floor with Queens. 925 TNT. South region from Tampa. 16 seed Lehigh. 1 seed Florida. Florida 29.25. They're going to wipe the floor. 945 CBS. East region from San Diego. 13 seed Cal Baptist. 4 seed Kansas. I have Kansas 8.5. Total 142 and 4/5. Let's assume Darren Peterson's healthy and he's going to play. This could be competitive. This Cal Baptist team is not that bad. They're and you could argue they were properly seeded here with all, like I said, a bunch of these weaker teams. So I'm going to advance Kansas. 10 o'clock TBS. East region from Philly. 15 seed Furman. 2 seed UConn. If UConn by 20, total 144 and 19. 20. So UConn's going to wipe the floor of Furman. Furman, a weaker Furman team than years past. And then 10-10 True TV, West region from St. Louis. 7 seed Miami, 10 seed Missouri. My line's Miami 3 3/4, so 154 and the 20th. I'm going to advance Miami. This Miami team, led by Renault and Donaldson, I think will advance. And I think that they've earned the trust more so than this Missouri team. But Missouri has Mark Mitchell, but I do think that Miami will get it done here. All right, now the second round, which will be Saturday, March 21st. We do not know the times of the games yet. We're just going to go by the venues and the regions. So from Greenville, East Region, 9 seed TCU, 1 seed Duke. I have Duke 17 3/4. Duke's just way better than TCU. Cam Boozer leads the way. And also from Greensville, South Region, 16 North Carolina, 3 seed Illinois. I have Illinois by 4. I'm advancing Illinois. I don't think that Carolina's in for the long run without Caleb Wilson. And if they get by VCU, then I'm probably going to have to bet Illinois, whatever money. I'll probably money line parlay Illinois with some other stuff to offset my loss. So, that's that. From Oklahoma City, South Region, 5 seed Vanderbilt, 4 seed Nebraska. I have Vandy 4 1/4. This is an interesting call here between Vandy and Nebraska. I know Nebraska's a great story. They were undefeated a long time, but I just think this team is poised for an early round exit. I know Price Sanford's really good. And I really do like this Vandy team. They really won me over with that performance against Florida in the SEC tournament. I was not a Vandy believer. Now count me in. And I think that Vandy gets it done here in a 5-4 upset. So, the SEC, I think, by the way, is, you can make a case, is the best conference. So I'm going to say Vandy over Nebraska in the upset. And then the other game from Oklahoma City, South Region, 7 seed St. Mary's, 2 seed Houston. I have Houston 4 3/4. Houston's just the better team than St. Mary's. I do think St. Mary's can be competitive here. But Houston, I think, is a legit contender led by Kingston Flemings. From Buffalo, Midwest Region, 9 seed St. Louis, 1 seed Michigan. I have Michigan by 11. Michigan's just a better team, obviously. They've been arguably the best team in the country all season long. Led by Yaxel Lendenberg and Marez Johnson. So I'm going to advance Michigan over Robbie Avila in St. Louis. Also in Buffalo, East Region, 6 seed Louisville, 3 seed Michigan State. I have Louisville by 2. Michael Brown Jr., best guy on the court. I know Tom Izzo, Sparty. They're a deep team led by Jeremy Fears Jr., but I think that Louisville gets him here. From Portland, West Region, 12 seed High Plain, 4 seed Arkansas. I have Arkansas 5 3/4. I think Darius Acuff takes over. The Ringers Bill Simmons the other day compared him to Kyrie Irving. That's an interesting comp, and I think Arkansas, John Calipari in a new place. I think they get it done. And also in the West Region, 11 seed NC State, 3 seed Gonzaga. From Portland, I have Gonzaga 8.5. This is where I think NC State's little run comes to an end. Gonzaga, battle-tested team, they advance. Sunday, March 22nd, second round from San Diego, West Region, 9 seed Utah State, 1 seed Arizona. I have Arizona only by 1 3/4. I think Utah State is one of the better Mountain West teams we've seen, but that conference is also very weak this year. Arizona, I think, is the better team here, led by Koa Pete and Braden Burry, so I'm going to advance Arizona to the Sweet 16, although I think that will be a close game. I think I might actually take a shot at Utah State to win the region, just because I think if they upset Arizona, then they could wipe it through. Also from San Diego, East Region, 5 seed St. John's, 4 seed Kansas. I have St. John's by 8. St. John's is, I think, a team that's really come around in the second half of the season. They just had a bad non-con slate in terms of record-wise, and that's why they're a 5 seed. They should be a 2 or a 3 seed, in my opinion. They got jabbed, in my opinion, and probably deserve to be in an easier region like the West or the South. But I think they get it done here. We're not sure about Darren Peterson and whether he's going to play or not. And give me Rick Pitino over Bill Self right now. I know Bill Self, it's been a couple years since Kansas won the title, but Rick Pitino is just a better basketball coach. And I think St. John's is a better team, led by Zuby Ejiofor. So I'm going to advance St. John's to the Sweet 16. From St. Louis, West Region, 7 seed Miami, 2 seed Purdue, 7.5. Braden Smith and company get it done. They're more experienced. I think they're peaking right now. They remind me of that Michigan team that went to the national title game, had a good run, the Big Ten tournament, and went to the national title game. So I think Purdue can go on a similar run. And then Midwest Region from St. Louis, 10 seed Santa Clara, 2 seed Iowa State. If Iowa State, 3 1/4. Iowa State, in my opinion, is in for a battle here with Santa Clara. They're a defensive team, but Iowa State's probably going to have the best 2 guys on the court, in Milan Monklevic and Josh Jefferson, so I have them advancing. From Tampa, South Region, 8 seed Clemson, 1 seed Florida. I have Florida by 9. I think the reigning champs really found it after a slow start. They're kind of like the St. John's of the SEC, except they don't deserve a 1 seed, and I think St. John's deserved like a 2 or a 3, and I think Florida should have been on the 2 line. I've been saying that all podcast, because they had a week, they weren't good in non-con. They're a 1 seed because they're the reigning champs, and they got favoritism from the committee. They're kind of like the Duke of that conference in a way now. It's weird. Thomas Hogg and Alex Condon lead the way for the Gators. And then also from Tampa, Midwest Region, 5 seed Texas Tech, 4 seed Alabama. I have Bama 3 1/4. It would have been 1 1/4 if Jacob Toppin was healthy, but he's not. Best guy on the court will be LeBron Philin Jr. And he'll lead the way for the Crimson Tide to the Sweet 16. In the last of 2 second-round games on Sunday, March 22nd from Philly, East Region, 7 seed UCLA, 2 seed UConn. I have UConn by 8. This is a blue blood battle. It's tough to bet against Dan Hurley and UConn. And they're going to have a little bit of a home court advantage in Philadelphia. They're deep, led by Solo Ball and Terrace Reed Jr. I know UCLA is battle-tested too and has been in some big games, but I just trust UConn more than UCLA. Although UCLA might have the best guy in the court in the game in Tyler Bellotto. but I do think UConn wins. In the Midwest region from Philly, 11 seed Miami of Ohio, 3 seed Virginia. I have Virginia 4.5. This is where the dream of Miami of Ohio comes to a close. They need to pat themselves on the back for a wonderful season. Virginia is a rejuvenated program. I do think Miami of Ohio could end up be keeping this close, but best guy in the court is Thaddeus the Ritter, who I think could make himself a name in this tournament and become a lottery pick here for the Cavaliers of Virginia. So I'm going to advance Virginia to the Sweet 16. Okay, the Sweet 16 would be the weekend of like the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. South region from Houston, March 26th. 5 seed Vanderbilt, 1 seed Florida. I have Florida 8 3/4. I'm going to advance the Gators. They're the reigning champions. They have the experience. All due respect to Vandy. I just think that led by Condon, I think Florida is more experienced and ready for this. And 3 seed Illinois, 2 seed Houston. Houston 6.5. Houston's not only the better basketball team, but they're going to have home court advantage in this game with it being at the Toyota Center. And there's better team by Illinois, led by Fleming, so I have them advancing. Fleming's and Sharp, obviously. All right, the West region from San Jose, the SAP Center. 4 seed Arkansas, 1 seed Arizona. I have Arizona only by 1.5. I think Arizona's depth's the difference here. I do think Acuff will put on a show and put up his points, but Burries and Pete will lead the way for Arizona, although I don't feel good about it. I think Arkansas can absolutely beat them. And then 3 seed Gonzaga, 2 seed Purdue. I have Pick'em. Obviously we've seen these two teams go head to head in the past. But the best 2 guys on the court are on Gonzaga, and Graham Ike and Braden Huff. And that's all due respect to the other Braden Smith, and the Boilermakers. I'm advancing Gonzaga. They're going to have the best 2 guys on the court, and they're going to have a home court advantage in San Jose as well. All right, the March 27th, the Sweet 16 Midwest region from the United Center in Chicago. 4 seed Alabama, 1 seed Michigan. I have Michigan 7 1/4. Michigan's just better than Alabama. They'll get stops. Alabama won't. As Dusty May gets his team going. I know Nate Oates is great in the tournament. But Lendenberg and Johnson lead the way for Michigan, although Bama will have the best player on the court in this matchup with Philon Jr. And the second of 2 Midwest, 3 seed Virginia, 2 seed Iowa State. I have the Cavaliers by 4, so I'm going to pick the 3 over the 2 here. This Virginia team, I really do like. The Ritter, like I said, I think is making a case for a lottery pick in the draft. Malik Thomas is a solid player, can get some rebounds for a guard as well. I mean, Iowa State, all due respect, they got off to a great start this year and everything, but I just think this is a bad matchup for them. Although they might have the best 2 guys on the court in Momlovic and Jefferson, so I am going to advance Virginia. And the East Regional from DC, Capital One Arena, 5 seed St. John's, 1 seed Duke. I have Duke only by 2 3/4. I think Rick Pitino arguably is the better coach here, although John Shire, I think, is going to eventually become the it coach like how Coach K was. And I do think talent wins out. Cam Boozer, best guy on the court here, so Duke will advance. Close game, though. 6 seed Louisville, 2 seed UConn. I have UConn by 5. Michael Brown has a chance to be the best guy on the court in this game. But Dan Hurley, you got, like, Dan Hurley we trust. Big game coach. Reed Jr. and Ball. Caravan. They've all been there and done that. So I have them advancing. All right, the regional finals. Saturday, March 28th. West Region, 3 seed Gonzaga, 1 seed Arizona. I have Gonzaga by 1. And I have Gonzaga into the Final Four. They will have the best 2 guys on the court in this game, with Ike and Huff. And that's all due respect to Koa Pete, who is possibly going to be a lottery pick, and Burries of Arizona. So I have Gonzaga in the Final Four. And obviously that's a Mark Few against his protege, or one of his disciples, type of game. I know it's disciple, protege, whatever you want to call it. So that's just a fun little subplot there. And then 2 seed Houston, 1 seed Florida. I have Houston by 2.5. I do think Florida has a good chance to go back to the Final Four, obviously. This Houston team is tough and they're gritty. And I think that they're battle-tested. Flemings and Sharp get it done. I think Flemings will be the best guy on the court in this matchup. So I'm going to advance Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars here. And then March 29th from the United Center to Midwest Regional Final. 3 seed Virginia, 1 seed Michigan. I have Michigan by 4.5. I think this is where Virginia's little run comes to an end. I think this would be a close game. But Lendenberg and Johnson Jr. and Mara and Cadeau, good players on Michigan. Dusty May, I think, is going to put a name for himself in this tournament. They'll go to the Final Four. And the last of the 4 regional finals, the East Regional Final from DC, 2 seed UConn, 1 seed Duke, the marquee matchup we all want. I have Duke 2 3/4. I know UConn has the experience. I think Duke will be healthier by then. I know they have some guys out right now, but they have the best guy on the court in Boozer, obviously. I think that Ngoba can be back for Duke, the young center. And obviously they'll have Isaiah Evans that can shoot the ball as well. I know Dan Hurley, big game guy, and Caravan and Ball and all those guys they have at UConn, and obviously Reed Jr. and Mullins and Damari, but I just think Duke's better. And Boozer is just a man on a mission, looking to become the number 1 pick in the NBA draft as well. And so I think Duke in an absolute classic to go to the Final Four. So I have winning each region. The West region, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. The South region, the Houston Cougars. The Midwest region, the Michigan Wolverines. And the East region, the Duke Blue Devils. So 2 1 seeds, a 2 seed, and a 3 seed I have in the Final Four. And the Final Four from Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium. April 4th is the Final Four. The games will probably be at like 6 and 9, probably. From the South region, 2 seed Houston Cougars, and the 1 seed in the East region, Duke Blue Devils. I have the Duke Blue Devils favored by 3 1/4. Again, best team in the country all year long. Best player in the country in Cam Boozer. And the supporting guys, they're going to be healthier by then. With Evans and Vagva and Foster and the other Boozer. And then you have, on the other side, Kelvin Sampson, really good tournament coach. Flemings and Sharp and Uzon and Connect Jr. I think Duke gets it done. Boozer makes the difference there. And then the other game, 3 seed in the West region, Gonzaga Bulldogs in your Midwest region, 1 seed Michigan Wolverines. I have Michigan by 3.5. I know Gonzaga will have the best two guys on the court in all likelihood, with Ike and Huff. But I think this is Michigan's time with Lendenberg and Johnson and Mara and Cadeau. I think Dusty May is a guy that's going to make a name for himself big time in this tournament. And I think they advance to the title game, which will be Monday, April 6th. 1 seed in the Midwest region, the Michigan Wolverines, and your East seed, in your East 1 seed, the Duke Blue Devils. I only have Duke by 3/4. I know the depth of Michigan. I get it. Carlos Boozer is the best player in the country. I think he's a matchup problem. And I think that he's unstoppable. And that's all due respect to Mara and Cadeau and all these guys. I think this is going to be a fantastic game, but I just think Duke is the much better team, led by Boozer, as the Duke Blue Devils will be your 2026 NCAA Tournament national champions. And John Shire will finally have a national title. And he's been at Duke as the head coach for a while now. This is his 4th year. And they win the ACC tournament a lot, but they need to get over the hump. And they were in the Final Four a year ago. But that's not good enough. This is Duke. John Shire's got to get it done, and I think he will. So this part of the show is actually being recorded when UMBC Howard's being played. So hopefully the futures are up. So the national champion, the shorter odd teams are Duke and Arizona and Michigan are all co-favorites at plus 380. Florida's 9-1, and then it drops. And all these numbers are, oh, this is based on seeding. Oh, that's annoying. So a long shot I like on the board. You gotta have a good lottery pick on your team. The Kansas Jayhawks are 100-1 with Darren Peterson. Darius Acuff and the Arkansas Razorbacks are 60-1. I like that a little better because Peterson's been in and out of the lineup. I do like Gonzaga at 45-1. I think they have a real shot. Houston's 11-1. I think that's a good number as well. AJ DiVincenzo and BYU 300-1. That's a great number. Louisville and Michael Brown Jr., they're 125-1. I would dab a little bit on all of those. And then the regions. Team to reach Final Four. Well, you can parlay some of these, which is interesting. I think 10-1 St. John's is a good one. That's my favorite one in the East, long shot, and Louisville at 20-1. Those are my two favorites that I would bet on. In the West, long shots. I would parlay Gonzaga with Duke and some others as well. BYU 35-1 with AJ is a good one. I would take that. Midwest long shot to make the Final Four. I would go. All right. This might be crazy talk. Dream Season Miami of Ohio is 500-1. Because I think they can beat Tennessee. And then if they beat Virginia, who the hell knows? But I do think Bama at 40-1 is at 14-1 with Bama is a good number in their region. With Labaron, Thalon leading the way there. So I would go Alabama 14-1 as a value pick. And in value in the South, I do have Houston. They're plus 220. I did bet Carolina at 20-1 when Caleb Wilson was still healthy. Now they're 65-1, so that bet's kind of shot, as we talked about earlier. But I don't love any long shots in this region. I mean, maybe you could talk myself into Vandy at 10-1. I do have them in the Sweet 16. So that's a good one. And then most outstanding player is a good one too. Cam Boozer's plus 390. Yaxel Lendenberg 11-1. Koa Pete 22-1 of Arizona. Kingston Fleming's at 22-1 is a good one. And then a triple digit guy. If St. John's goes on run, Zuby Ejiofor at 100-1 is really good. Graham Ike of Gonzaga 75-1 is a good one. But yeah, there's a lot of darts. Labaron Falon at 100-1 is good. Koa Pete 22 as well. Braden Smith at Purdue goes on a run 35 is good. How about the guy from Virginia? The Ritter 80-1. That's a good one as well. And then Tyler Tanner of Vandy, who I have in the Sweet 16, 80-1. Also for most outstanding player of the Final Four. So there you have it for the 2026 NCAA Tournament Preview and Prediction Show. I'm going to try to go back to my regular podcasts beginning on Thursday. So just keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys have a great night, everyone.